everyone, it's Annabelle. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look, as requested by you guys, at my Phalaenopsis that I think I did in my 4th ever video. And we will be announcing the winners of the Mars Hydro Eco 300 LED grow light at the end of this video. So if you're just tuning in for that, you can always skip to the end of the video. So essentially, I bought 3 Phalaenopsis from a local supermarket, and they were like mini-phals. Didn't have the worst roots. They didn't have the best roots. They were fine. They were packed in tightly packed Sphagnum in little sleeves. And these two are the same variety of Phalaenopsis, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to do a repot, one into bark, one into semi-hydro with leca, and basically to show the 2 different methods of growing. Because a lot of people watching wouldn't be growing in semi-hydro, I felt like it was more relevant maybe to do a repot into bark moss mix that I prefer to use, and kind of show you how that works in my environment, and my preferred method, which is semi-hydro with leca, and how that works in my environment. I also have another phal. So these two are the same kind of orangey, bronzy, really pretty Phalaenopsis. I'll pop a picture up on screen, and what I will try and do is dig through my video storage. I have some on OneDrive. Obviously I'm quite limited with storage space. YouTube videos take up a lot of memory, but I think I have some of those first videos on an external storage, so I will try and put some video footage up on screen of when I first got these 2 and how they compared. So one I did a repot for kind of off camera before I then bought the next 2. So this is the one that I repotted like maybe a couple of days before this one, and these 2 are the same type. This one is this was the Chingruey's Goldstaff that's still actually kept the same spike as it had last time. I didn't cut it, I was going to, I usually do. The spike hasn't progressed any further, but it has stayed green, and it is now making another spike there. So I'm also going to repot that, I think. But this video is mainly going to be looking at these 2, which are the comparison phals, and uppotting them basically, because they've outgrown their pots. And this one in the bark moss mix, one of the side effects of these sort of pots is, I'm not going to tip it up because all of the bark will fall out, but I don't know if you can see, basically got roots coming out the bottom and they've hit the side, and then they've got damaged where I've been picking the pot up and things, which is not ideal, so it definitely needs a repot. They're both spiking at the moment. The one in the bark moss mix started to spike a little bit later than the one in semi-hydro. So the one in semi-hydro, the spike is just a little bit further along in progression. But other than that, they're doing very similarly. I wouldn't say that I'm kind of wowed with one method over the other. I think that they look kind of the same to me, to be honest. This one, when I got it, was a bit more set back. As you can see by the leaf size, if this is one of the leaves that it had when I got it, it then kind of produced this leaf in my care. Obviously it's a little bit set back by the repot because it's going from moss into a different media, and then the leaves have gradually got bigger. This is the most recent leaf it's produced, and it's already starting on, probably can't see, it's just starting on another leaf in there. You can just see the very, very beginnings of a very baby little leaf. I'll try and put an arrow because I can see it on camera, but you guys might not know which bit is which, so I'll try and point it out. It's just a little nub in there. Anyway, this one, obviously it didn't get set back by transitioning into Inorganic Media. It's doing excellently, really happy with the leaf progression on it. Now, one thing I should mention about these, as a comparison, this maybe isn't a fair test because I'm maybe not comparing growing methods in quite the same way that maybe I should have. Basically, in my organic media setups like bark and moss, I keep my orchids kind of a little bit more moist than maybe most people would. So when I water this, I've been watering it once a week. I use my pump sprayer to water the orchid, and I fill up to kind of here with the nutrient mix. So I kind of wet both sides of the media and fill up the saucer. Then throughout the course of the week, it's got moss in, so it kind of wicks. You can see obviously the roots are moist in there, nice and green. Ooh, bump into a root there. So it'll wick it up through the course of the week, so it kind of constantly stays moist. So maybe this isn't a traditional organic versus inorganic test. I guess in that way it's maybe more of a test of the actual physical media that we're using rather than the wet dry cycle versus constantly moist semi-hydro. So maybe it's not a fair test in that regard, but I think that it's still a good comparison. I'm happy with both of them, and obviously this one's doing well, so I can totally grow in organic media. I'm not just a one-trick pony with semi-hydro, but I do prefer not having to do constant repots, and obviously you can see the root growth outside of the pot on this one is massive, but this one's catching up. So I am going to repot these guys because they desperately need a repot. Take them out, take a look at root systems, and then I will continue this experiment. So I will uppot this one into a bark moss mix with some perlite, and I put some leca in there last time as like a bulking agent, and I'm a bit low on my Orchiata bark, so I'll put leca in there to bulk it up. And then this one is going to go into self-watering with pumice and leca, and with top dressing of the non-wicking pebbles, which is kind of my new preferred grow method. They're both going to go into similar kind of size pots, but obviously we're going to have one in the constantly moist inorganic and then one in the organic media. So with that said, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start off with the one in the organic mix, since this is going to be the most difficult one, I think. Just going to squeeze the pot, and obviously the roots are all moist in here anyway, so I haven't done any previous soaking, but if you're repotting from organic media, I'd always recommend doing a soak first. And the main issue we're going to have with this repot are these roots here. I'm going to bring you down while I do this repot so you guys can see it a little bit better. So obviously these roots here have come out the bottom of the pot, so usually with a bit of wiggling you can kind of get them, if they've not come too far, to actually go back in the pot. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that all right. Going to hold the phal obviously by the stem and being careful of the spike. Just going to pull out some of the media. So you can see I've used a very moss heavy mix with bark and leca to kind of pad it out. So this is 7 months into their pots that they need a repot, and physically just size of the pot really, but you would usually need to do a yearly repot when you use this much moss, so it was due anyway. Which is one thing that I really like about inorganic media. And obviously since I've started using pumice, I found something that's a bit more moisture retentive in my environment than leca. So I'm using the non-wicking pebbles as a top layer. So hopefully I can get even better results from the one in the non-organic setup next time around, because I've got those tools that are slightly better, I feel, than just plain leca. Okay, so this is all coming off very easily. Obviously the phall's been kept pretty moist constantly, so it's not really like I'm having to tease this off dry roots. It's all just kind of coming away quite easily. And one point to make is obviously this has been kept constantly moist. I guess it's kind of like been a self-watering setup, which maybe wasn't the fairest test, like we said. Maybe it would have been more interesting to do a traditional let your orchid dry fully between waterings versus constantly moist, but that's another control then you'd need to add in. So for now we've got this one. And you'll notice that there are no dead roots. Obviously we will have taken any dead roots that were on there off at the time, and none have died since, and this has never really dried out at all. In summer I was watering it 2 to 3 times a week to keep it nice and moist, and it's growing really well. And every time I water, I add nutrients to the solution. I don't really water without nutrients. I'll only ever occasionally do like a completely pure water flush, just to dilute any nutrients that are in my reservoirs so the orchids can suck them up. But because I don't have many in organic anymore, any in bark or moss, this has just been put on my same watering schedule as my semi-hydro, a little bit more often because it was drying out a lot in summer. So any leca that's left stuck to roots, I'm just going to leave on because obviously it's inorganic, it's not going to break down, and there's no point damaging the volumen to get the leca off. I'm going to put more in there anyway. The bark, however, will decompose, especially when it's kept constantly moist like I've been keeping this. So okay, so I think I've got most of the media off there, so I'm just going to go rinse that off at the tap. Okay, so I've just given the orchid a rinse off at the tap to clean off any bits of moss and debris that were kind of left on the root system. So we've got a really nice healthy root system here, lots of good roots, nice healthy orchid. And I've prepared some sphagnum moss by pouring boiling water over to it. This is the compressed dehydrated brick, so it really fluffs up nicely. And I'm just going to mix that in with some perlite, which I put in there. And then to that I'm going to add a mix of bark, pumice, leca, and a little bit of perlite in there. Okay, I'm just going to grab my pot. So I'm going to be using a 15cm pot this time for the repot. I'm going to start off by just lining the bottom of the pot with some of the media. So that is my mix for the Phalaenopsis. Got quite a bit of bark and pumice and perlite mixed in with the moss there, and some nice chunks of pumice. So that will keep it nice and airy, and we don't want to compact the sphagnum at all, we want it to remain nice and fluffy. And then I'm going to place the orchid in the pot. And we're also going to pop some of the aerial roots that it has down into the media there, because we want them functioning as media roots, not aerial roots. And then I'm just going to fill around with the mix. So when I fill around, sorry, I'm blocking the view there. When I fill around, what I tend to try and do is use my hand very gently, or if there's not a lot of room, you can use a skewer or something, and just kind of push the media between the roots and the outer edge of the pot. So media choice is kind of a whole different ball game, but I'm using a moss heavy mix because my orchids are super thirsty. My grow room is kind of heated to some extent, so although I live in the UK, I keep my spare bedroom that the orchids live in above 18 degrees Celsius. If your orchids are growing in a cooler environment, particularly hot growers, they will really dislike cold, soggy, wet roots. And it's fine to leave a few air pockets in there. You don't want to compress when you're working with moss, you want it really light and fluffy. And one thing I'd say is obviously I'm using a lot of moss because I don't let my climate get cooler, but if you are growing in a kind of cooler environment, you'll want to be using more bark in your mix because Phalaenopsis dislike cold, soggy, wet roots. Okay, so that is phal number 1, all repotted into the organic media mix. As you can see, it's a really nice, airy, fluffy mix. I've not compressed the moss at all, and I've even left quite a few air pockets then in there. Which is the kind of key to working with moss, in my opinion. And Phalaenopsis do really well in moss or moss heavy mixes in warmer climates, but again, if you're growing in a kind of cooler climate, you may want to use more bark in the mix, especially on a windowsill where it'll get a bit cooler at night time. And that is the first phal repotted. So moving on to phal number 2. So first of all, I'm just going to make the self-watering pot for the Phalaenopsis. So exactly the same 15cm pot. I buy these in bulk in packs of 10 from Sphagnum Plants in the UK, and it makes it work out around 80p each, something like that. So I've got some wicks, which I get from Amazon. They're just like a cotton type wick. You can use microfiber cloth as well. I did that once and had a weird brand or a cheap brand or something, and for some reason, so I like to use these. But you can just cut up a microfiber cloth and use that. A lot of people do that. I'm going to put 2 wicks in to increase the wicking efficiency. I'm going to position them kind of like that, but we'll pull them up a little bit more. This is the outer mask I'm going to be using, which is an IKEA neck john mask. And now that that's in, you can kind of see where the wicks sit and pull them up a little bit more. So I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to grab our fowl. So just going to tip out the old mix. It's going straight into a saucepan because I'll boil it up and reuse it. But we're going to use fresh mix today. Now this particular fowl did not have many roots to start with because I had to stabilise it with, well, you can see how the roots have grown around the leca, but I had to stabilise it with this system where I had a little plastic stake going down diagonally through the mix there, and I just attach that to an old flower spike. But that can come out now because we now have plenty of roots. And just going to leave that on there, that leca, because it's not doing any harm, and I only wanted to wash this because it has some salt builds up on and some algae in there. So firstly, we're going to put some mix into our pot ready to go before we put the orchid in there. So that's my base layer done, which is kind of even mix of pumice and leca. And then for the rest of it, we're going to pop the mixture into a jug ready. So this is going to be easy to pour around the orchid. So this is kind of an even mix of pumice and leca. And then I'm just going to place the orchid in the pot. And what I'm going to do first is try and push some of these aerial roots down and under into the pot. And same for this one. And just try and tuck these aerial roots down and in. In my experience, they don't die off when you pot them, when I pot them. If you're potting into traditional organic media, and especially if you're kind of new to orchids, I wouldn't pot the aerial roots until you kind of know what they do in your environment. Just going to position it kind of centrally in the pot and try and just tuck this one down as well. Okay, so that is kind of positioned into the pot there. And then I'm just going to fill around it with my mix that I put into the jug of pumice and leca. And another thing you'll notice is I didn't actually need to trim any of the roots from this. None of them had died either. So when you're using organic media, it's quite important to maybe leave it nice and light and fluffy and to leave air pockets. But when you're doing like a self-watering or semi-hydroponic setup with inorganic, it's quite important that you fill some of those air pockets, mainly because in that kind of setting, the wicking is relying on there being contact between each of the pieces of inorganic material. So any big gaps are going to disrupt that wicking efficiency. Okay, so I think that is more or less done. Just gonna squeeze the pot just to fill any air pockets that I can't see. See if the media will go down anymore. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. So I'm now going to put a top layer of non-wicking pebbles on the top, the horticultural grit that I've been using. Okay, and that is that orchid all repotted also into the inorganic setup. Mixture of pumice and leca, which should be a bit more moisture retentive than leca alone, and the orchids really seem to respond well to it. And that is the two orchids side by side. Now I am just going to do the third orchid, purely because I did repot it with you before into inorganic, which is the Chingruey's Goldstaff. And obviously I'll link that video down below, and I'll try and put a clip up on screen of what it looked like. And that is this one here. And I am going to repot it just because I kind of want to see what it's doing, to be honest. Okay, so the root system on that doesn't look bad. I can't remember what it was like when I got it, but it doesn't look like there are any dead roots there. Obviously you can see the ones that have grown in leca have this kind of wavy pattern, obviously where they've grown between the leca. And there's a new root tip there. All looks good to me, and we've got new roots starting. So I wanted to repot this because I'm really finding that my phals respond really well to having pumice in their mixes. So I kind of want to put it in all my mixes, and as I'm doing repots, I might as well do this now. And I've actually got the most adorable little glass jar that I'm actually going to see if it can fit into. Got these discounted, they were clearancing them from the supermarket, and I absolutely love them. They're so cute for mini-phals. So I'm just going to fill the bottom of this jar up with leca up to the flushing hole that I've drilled. This might not be the best jar for it, to be honest, because it's quite small. I'm going to see if it'll fit, because it's not got a giant root system, and they're super cute. So obviously the roots in here were in a reservoir before. We've actually got a stake on there that I don't think we really need. I think I used that to hold it in place. Obviously while the roots are growing, it's great to stabilise the orchid, but I don't think we need that anymore. Okay, so that is fitting nicely into that pot there. So I'm just going to fill around that with a mix of pumice and leca. Okay, so that is that little mini-phal all repotted, which is the Chingruey's Goldstaff, and fits quite nicely into that little cute jar. And I really wanted to use these jars up because I absolutely love them for mini-phals. Okay, so now that these phals are all repotted into their organic or inorganic setups, and we've taken a look at their progress and the root systems, and obviously the spikes also, it's time to announce the giveaway winner. So Mars Hydro LED kindly sponsored a festive giveaway of an Eco 300 grow light to one of my viewers as a kind of thank you to you guys for sticking with me, and also obviously to promote their grow lights, which are kind of amazing. So I don't have any problem at all with recommending their grow lights. So the winner was chosen through a random comment picker website, which I feel like is the fairest way we can go. So I typed in the YouTube URL, copied and pasted the YouTube URL of this video for the giveaway, and it selected a winner. So the winner is Karen Holden, and I'll pop that up on screen. And it sounds like you really need the grow light. You guys were incredibly kind in your comments, and I wish I had more to give away, to be perfectly honest. Because I would love to give grow lights to lots of people, but Karen is the winner, and I will pop a comment on your comment on that giveaway video telling you how to get in touch with me regarding getting the grow light shipped to you. Now I felt a little bit like I wanted to give something else to people because so many people entered, and I wish I could give you all something. I don't know how other YouTubers do this. It's kind of heart-wrenching a little bit when lots of people apply, and obviously there can only be one grow light that Mars have sponsored. So I did a second draw, and the winner of that came out as Mary G Orchids, And Mary, I'm going to send you something. I'll pop together a little package, maybe of, I've noticed you comment a few times about media, so I'll pop a little package together of media for you and send you out that. So if I'll also put a comment down on your comment on the giveaway video and get in touch regarding that, and I will send you something as a runner-up prize, because I would love to give grow lights to everybody, but I can't, unfortunately. Maybe in the future we'll be able to do more giveaways of this kind of nature. Those are the winner and runner-up of the giveaway, and thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this repot video update and the giveaway results. If you enjoyed this video, then obviously don't forget to give it a like or subscribe to my channel for more regular orchid updates and hopefully more giveaways in the future. And I will see you guys later. Bye!